Hello, hello. Wow, that was quick. I usually have to wait a couple of minutes before people join. Just setting up a little bit here first. Let's see. How's it going? Oh, you just open it. Okay, that was a coincidence. Let's see here. Okay, there we go. All right. Yeah. It's going good. Watching Zig. Are you keen on learning? Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm doing good. It went really well yesterday. I streamed yesterday, and well, I usually have only like 2 people or something max watching, but I got raided like 2 times in a row, and so we ended up. I think it was like maximum of 50 viewers, and we ended at like 30 or something. So, and I got 12 followers, so that was a really nice stream yesterday. And the game that I'm developing here, I'm currently adding like secrets, you could say, to it. I found it. Yeah, I think he was or he, or I don't know what to say. They yeah, was one of the raids, right? The raiders, one of the raiders. Nice. Yeah. Yeah, so yesterday we ran into some issues when spawning these new entities, and it looked like the position was mixed up with the size. So are you a developer, or are you learning Zig? Like, is Zig your first language, or do you learn any other language? Alright, let's start the editor here. It always takes a while for like the first start. I'm not sure if the cache is like deleting itself or something. Alright, so you can see here we've got these 2 entities spawning here, and they have the wrong size and the wrong position. I think maybe the position and scale is like mixed up or something. So, oh, you're a web dev. Cool. I'm also a web dev usually, but I'm trying to get into game development. Oh, so you're using TypeScript, Elixir, and PHP, sadly. But trying to get into game dev in my free time. Okay, so you're kind of like me then. Learning lower level stuff, yeah. It's really fun. I mean, yeah, it's not easy. With like if it's the first time learning about like manual memory management, that can be a bit of a hurdle. But you do feel like you're in almost like total control, and you can optimize a lot if you need to. But I like Sig as well. I like Sig because it does have some really nice features that's kind of missing in other languages, actually. Like, I'm not sure, like, let's say I really like it has a lot of safety in mind. So if you have an enum and you switch over the cases that the enum could be, then you have to have all the cases. So that's like, because that makes it so that you have to sort of take care of it, and I am actually utilizing that as a way of sort of, if I add a new entity type, if I add a new type of monster, let's say, then I get a whole bunch of compiler errors where I have to add implementation. So I don't have to like remember exactly everywhere I have to change stuff. It just tells me where I have to go, which is extremely nice, and I use it all the time. It's really a respect for me at the moment, since I'm doing it in my free time. I'm not too worried about the timeline. Yeah. That's a really nice way of learning, I feel. Like, there was a huge difference when I went to school in computer science, and when I, like, before I went to school, I was self-taught. But when you're self-taught, you kind of, you have control of your own time, so you don't have to stress about learning something, which is, I think it's a very good way of learning something, because yeah, it's yeah, I don't know, it just felt better to not have to stress about it. Okay, so let's see, why. Wait, this is the wrong thing. Oh yeah. So I was gonna check the logs. That's right. So Fog of War. Okay, so there was a curious thing, because I didn't get the Fog of War here. Oh, it's because the entity type is custom and not Fog of War. I see. Okay, so let's do it in here instead. But after this point, it should be Fog of War. So let's do this. What kind of web dev? Yeah, so I'm well, you know, TypeScript, React. Currently we're using C# and on the backend, but I've delved a bit in Node as well, and oh no, that's basically it, like C# and Node and React, basically. I did some Angular back in the day, but I don't really like Angular. Okay, it's crashing. Why is it crashing? Like, I did Angular 1, Angular version 1. That was like, yeah, it was a mess, but it was like, back then it was one of the, it was, yeah, I mean, it was better than jQuery, at least. I mean, in some sense, it was like, oh, this is new and exciting, you know. But then, I guess it wasn't really new, but it was new for me. But then, you know, you saw React and you were like wishing you used React instead. But since the company, they didn't want to switch that easily, so they went with like Angular 2 and instead. So, but now it's React since a couple of years back. Cannot reference non-pointer type scene entity. Oh, so you're completely self-taught. Nice. 1.5 years of coding experience. Okay. So 1.5 years in your web dev stuff, or let's see, character reference pointer. All right, so here it actually is not a pointer. So, yeah. There we go. Let's see if we get anything else here. All right, let's see what. Let's look into these entities and see what they have. What? Oh, it's entity underscore. Okay. But I probably wanna. Yeah, so this is the original data. That should be correct. I guess we could log both of them. One and a half years since my first line of code, pretty much. Oh, okay. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, let's check the logs here. Okay, here we go. So here's the Fog of War original. Scene entity, ID, position looks good. The scale actually is correct. Okay, so we're reading it in properly here. And then we're seeing here as well, the position is set properly, the scale is properly set. So there's nothing wrong going on with that. But then we see here that the scale is messed up here. Init entity. Wait, no, that's the wrong project. But the scale somehow gets like we are putting the position. Okay, I'm gonna assume right now, I'm gonna guess that it's a matter of badly positioned parameters into the function. I'm gonna guess. You see, we have position and scale in this order here. I'm gonna guess that it's the other way around. Yeah. Great. So that was like a whole thing yesterday. Okay. The scene editor looks cool. Did you build this app? Oh, thanks. Yes, this is built. I'm using sort of a UI library called ImGUI or ImGUI. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it's a kind of popular UI. I mean, I've seen it for a couple of different projects and people using it, and you can basically create a UI in Zig with it. It's a C library, but Zig has a bindings library that you can use to call the functions, and you can just import any C library with Zig. Or I don't know about any C library, but a lot of them you could just import into Zig and it will just work, which is really nice. So it interfaces actually really well with C. And yeah, all of these like buttons and stuff, everything here is ImGUI or ImGUI. The tabs. What do you use the editor for in practice? So the idea was that I was gonna make a tool that helps me build sort of the data files that I'm gonna use in the game. So I'm basically the editor only. It doesn't really have the game engine built in, like, you know, Unreal Engine or Unity. It only has a way of sort of building these data files and visually presenting, you know, to create it. And so everything here just gets stored as JSON files, and then I load those in the game engine and do whatever we need to do to yeah, just have the game running with those. Because I constantly ran into the problem where, okay, I really want to have like a tile map editor that just produces some sort of data file that I can just load in and easily create these things. And also then I thought that, oh, it would be cool to have like a scene editor that you can like drag in you know, your own entities and stuff, and you know, so it kind of grew from that idea. And since I started, I've just added a whole bunch of stuff. So we have like animations. You can define entity types. You can have, you know, create scenes where you just put entities in here, and a time map, textures here, and the time map. So it has like a time map editor, and oh yeah, and animations as well. I used Separate. Okay, I don't know how to pronounce it. Sprite. Before with C# and FNA to load in the final runtime. I use Sprite as editor, but it's limited. Yeah. So yeah. So there's probably like a whole bunch of different tools that you can use, but the problem there is like, okay, I have to learn how to use those, and I mean there's pros and cons, of course, with everything. And I mean the pros of building your own is you can add whatever you want and whatever you need, and you can sort of tailor it to your needs. But the cons, of course, is that it takes a lot of time to actually do it. But it for me it's like a learning process, and it's also, you know, I'm learning Zig. I'm learning to build UIs in this way, and building the editor. I've built editors before, but yeah, this is definitely sort of my biggest project in that regard. Sprite is just pixel art painting software, but this editor insane. Mini Unity. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's gonna replace anything. It's sort of like a different tool. It's sort of meant to be for developers who make their own engines, that just want an editor that produces these data files that they can import into their game engine and run it. So it doesn't come with a game engine like Unity and Unreal Engine, you know. So, but because I was kind of missing that from something that had like everything that I wanted to have, like, but this is also very tailored to 2D games as well. So, but it also improves, you know, if I wanna build specialized tools. I'm building this kind of in a generic way as well, to be able to use it for more games in the future. Dev tools for this specific, yeah. So it is for this specific game, but it's also, I'm trying also to generalize stuff, because you can, the entities here, like the editor doesn't really know anything about these entities. It just knows this is just like an icon. The only special entities that exist are these ones. These are like entrance and exits into other scenes. So that's the only like entities that are special. And you can, if you go to entities, and let's say we go to button here, so you can also add properties to your button. So you can add properties to your entities. And this has a property that it activates another entity. So that is a property that exists on the button itself. So you can add whatever properties you want. You can add like integers, strings, or whatever. So that way you can sort of customize what your entities can do. And then in the game engine, you can simply see that, okay, we have a thing called activate, so this should activate the other reference, or the entity that it's gonna reference here. So it is very sort of generic in that way. You can build whatever 2D based game here, like, I guess, side scroll. I mean, I guess it doesn't have to be a side scroll either. It can be top down or whatever. Any 2D sort of tile based game. But yeah, then it's missing a bunch of features that, you know, modern editors have, like being able to, I mean, I can start playing this scene here, so I can just start playing it, but once I'm in the game, I can't really, you know, I can't easily sort of edit on the fly and stuff like that. I can't like move things around and, you know, edit stuff like that. But yeah, I am living with some, you know, limitations of it. But the upside is that I can add whatever features I want. I can build my game the way I want to build it, and yeah, it's also a learning experience. So now it looks like these entities here are actually the correct size and probably the correct position as well. We can see the line up here. So now I think it's a matter of changing the code for making them here, because I did fool around a little bit with the positioning here. So where did I do that? Actually, oh yeah, that was in the draw system, I believe. Yeah, game draw. Yeah. So I added a special function here just temporarily here. What you use to create the art? So I'm using GIMP. Because it's free, and yeah, I guess it's not really like the perfect program to do pixel art, but it works. And especially like animations, you have to like work around it a little bit, but or maybe I'm just missing features, I don't know, but it works. Focus of War. So let's see, we have the position. So well, let's just try and not do anything like this and just say body.av. Yeah, the code for the editor is up, but not the game. Okay, it looks like it works now. Cool. So this is gonna be sort of like the secret area. So it's gonna be hidden until you go down here and kill these. Oh, but they're still here. But I mean, we're still drawing it. But no, we should not draw it if it's destroyed. So that didn't work either. Maybe I forgot to link them up. Oh, they should be linked. Oh yeah. So so I haven't actually implemented the destruction of the tiles that's gonna activate something. So that might be the answer there. So now we can do this. Let's also now say, yeah, the color should be black, and we don't need to draw the middle part. All right. Let's see. So no, we're gonna go to the destructible tile. So I want to fix. It should. When the destructible tile is activated, it should also like chain react activate other things. But we're not really doing it here, which is a bit of a shame actually. But it's kind of a mix here between generalizing like based on which struct you have, like inheritance almost, but also have these the device system which has all these different functions to do stuff. So this is the update. I need the handle state change. So when the state changes to destroyed, what we want to do here is we want to also activate the things that it should activate. So and I should probably make this more this should probably be more generic, but yeah, let's just fix it here for now. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to look into this and look into properties, and here we have activates. Right, so this is a property array deserializer. So this is a list of items, or it's a list of entity references. So we'll loop through those. There should be an entity ref, I think. So it should have like scene ID and entity ID. Now we don't really have support for, I guess, changing other scenes right now. But I'm just gonna see if we can get the entity here. So for each entity reference here, we actually need to loop through all like entities that has entity IDs and look for this specific ID. And that's a pretty bad thing of like doing it like that. We should probably keep like an index table from entity IDs to actual entities. Yeah, let's just do it like this for now. So we'll create a view of entity IDs. Let's just do a basic view. And we'll loop through the data. And we'll grab the entity ID from that. So now we have the entity ID. Well, the LSP doesn't know. But and then we need to check if entity ID dot ID, if this is equal to ref dot entity ID dot UID, then we have a match, so we can break. Oops. And we can also say we need to activate this, so we need to actually get the device. Which is going to be red get device type from entity ID. No. It's going to be E. That's right. That's the entity in the ECS system. So this is a bit convoluted here, but I'm just gonna make it work first, and then we'll fix it. So device. So we get the device type, and then we simply call activate on that. All right. So we're looping through all the entities that the destructible file should activate, and then we find, for each one we find which entity it belongs to by matching the entity ID here. And then once we have it, we get the device type from that entity and we activate it which will change sort of the state of that device. And then we're done with this particular entity, and we can continue to the next entity reference here. So let's see. Yeah. All right, so let's see if this works. No compiler errors, it seems. Yeah, I should move the spawner down. And let's see if it removes them. No. Oh, but something happened. Okay. It crashed. Add invisible. Oh. Was it already invisible? Okay. Okay, yeah. So at this point we're adding invisible. We don't really need to do that actually. We can just remove that because we already have invisible. So it seems like it works. It set the state to fading, and then it's destroyed. So it actually seems like it works. Let's try this again. I'm gonna move this down here. All right, cool. Do we have any leaks? Actually, we do have leaks. Okay, I'm not gonna worry about the leaks for now. There was just 2 leaks, so okay, cool. So what we want to do now is make the fading thing here. So I want to have them be fading. So what could that be? We could use the time. We could use time and make the color so you can say alpha. Actually, you can say black dot alpha. Get color with alpha applied from 0 to 1. So I guess 0 is transparent, I think. So let's do, what is it, fog of war dot state. So let's say if we need sort of the ratio. It's gonna be fog of war if the state is it's gonna be, we can do a switch actually. Switch on state. If it's idle or if it's idle or destroyed, I guess. Actually, if it's destroyed, it should be like 0. If it's idle, then the ratio should be 1. If it's fading, we get the fading state out. And now we have to say it's gonna be, so we need a delta. It's gonna be t minus, no, it's gonna be fading dot ends at minus t. So that is now how long it has been going for, and then we divide by the duration of the fade. I believe. If it's destroyed, then it's gonna be 0. I mean, I guess this is the alpha. All right. Let's just make it into an F32 then. And then we say color. There we go. Found F64. Oh. Right. So these are F64s, and this one is like a comp time int. So we'll do float to float cast maybe. Okay, there we go. Okay, so let's see if it's fading now. This is, I mean, this is kind of going against, you know, the whole 8-bit thing. Oh. Oops. Okay, are we actually, is it actually saved? Yes. Okay, so we're actually saving the state of the Fogs of War. So I have to go, let's go to the save and disable. So that's good, because it means that the Fog of War sort of loading the state works. But I'm gonna disable restoring the Fog of War state for the purposes of testing this here. All right, cool. And there you can see it sort of fades away. Maybe it should fade away when you enter. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of obvious to me, at least, that it's something there, because you can see the ground doesn't really match like how it usually does. I'm not saying the graphics are like perfect here, but it sort of looks like, I mean, I guess I could change it. I don't know. It's because normally this should look like this. This should have the same tile over here if it was just supposed to be a thing. I mean, maybe it's like a hint. It could be seen as a hint. But there you go. It actually works. So cool. And then there's supposed to be some sort of, you know, treasure or something you can get here, but we don't have that yet. Awesome. So let's see. So we kind of have like secrets now. Cool. All right. Let's go to the to-do here. This is actually done. Destructible tiles. Yeah. So the whole thing that I was trying to do here, I was trying like the whole like destructible things started with. I was thinking of, okay, I wanted to implement a better camera system. Right now the camera is super basic. It's like it follows the player one-to-one almost. It has a little bit of smoothing when it's like teleported, but as long as the player is like almost at the center of the camera, it follows the player really like rigidly. But when you reach the end of the map, it's bounded by the end of the map. However, I would like this to be more bounded. Like, let me show you a place here. So we have up here, we have this place. So when you enter here, down here, oh, what happened to this? That looks weird. Okay, whatever. When you're down here, the camera is like bounded here. Like this is the bottom of the map, this is the left. It's bounded here. So when you move over here, or when you jump up and down, I don't want the camera to like follow the player, even though the time map actually goes all the way up here. So now, how it's implemented now is the camera actually follows the player. If I show you here, did it start? No, there we go. Oh, I guess it doesn't. but once you go up here, oh yeah, it's when you reach like the middle point, so that the bottom actually. But I guess what I'm trying to say is over here, when you jump up here, it shouldn't like follow the player up, since it should be bounded by the roof here. It should be bounded to this region here. But once you get to this vertical place over here, it should sort of release the boundary vertically, so you can vertically go up here. But then once you're here, I also want it to be sort of horizontally bound to these walls, because they are now the new sort of boundary. Which basically means that the camera is sort of locked in the horizontal position, but it's open in the vertical position. And to do all that, I figured that maybe we need to just define a bunch of regions in the editor, maybe. I guess another way is maybe we could sort of automate that to calculate the boundaries, but I'm not sure about that. Yeah, it's one of those things I'm not really exactly sure. I know kind of how I want it to be, but yeah, and defining the boundaries should be like, maybe we create entities for that, like camera boundary entities. Like the editor doesn't know about camera or anything. It just knows that we have entities, and that maybe we can create. Yeah, we can scale entities, so we can. Well, for example, this door. Well, it seems to be weirdly scaled. You can scale it, but why is it like this? I don't know. There's a bug there. So technically, I was thinking maybe you could sort of, yeah, okay, let's say we create this entity and then we scale it to, I don't know, something like this, and then you're like, okay, I wanna, so you're defining a region like this, over here and over here, but I want, then if I want to do it like that, I want to have a bunch of new features in the editor actually, because they're gonna like cover every entity. If I have an entity covering other entities, then it's like really hard to see what's going on, and you can't really, well, I guess it looks like actually we can click on the entities behind this, but maybe then we want to have like, I guess maybe layers or something, or I'm not sure, for the entities. Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure that out. I'm not gonna implement like the camera system right now. I have to figure out like what I need to do to make that better, or how to actually implement it in the first place. All right. So yeah, okay, well now I'm not sure what to do here. I'm gonna see. I mean, we do have a couple of things that I want to fix. The jump algorithm, the equation for jumping, adding more combat techniques, abilities, magic question mark. Music, sounds, yes. Here's like the forest area. I need to build out the base time lapse and stuff. But I don't think I'm gonna stream that. You know, streaming when I'm stream, I want to focus on programming. So actually building like the time lapse, I'm gonna do off stream. Adding puzzles, yeah, same thing there. I mean, I do want to add more puzzle elements. Like right now, there's only like activate this to activate something else, basically. I guess we don't have buttons. I guess button could be something that we actually want to implement. Okay, we do have a button. Let's go over here. So here is a button. We need to also be able to get to the button, so I'm just opening up here. Actually, let's just spawn over here. Okay, the doors look silly now. I need to fix that as well. But let's try this first here. Why is it taking so long? Oh, wow, the terminal actually crashed. Interesting. Let's get back on track. I think like the entire like WSL system actually crashed. Oops. Oh yeah, wait. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. There we go. All right. Oh hey, Cube Z animation. You could paint a path for the camera that acts as a boundary path for the camera's frame center point. So you could paint the allowed camera position and angles for any given location. Oh yeah. Let's see if I understand here. So hang on a second. Yeah. Paint a path for the camera that acts as a boundary path for the camera's frame center point. Okay, so you mean that basically sort of locking the like one of the axes maybe in this path. So you give the center of the camera frame a center point. Make it only travel along the painted path. Yeah, it could. So I mean, it's gonna follow the player. So it's gonna be able to. So it's gonna sort of try to calculate, I guess, the position it should have based on the player position that is like closest to the path. Yeah, that could be something. Alright, let's try this again. we go. Yeah, so you see here, the button is not spawned because the button is not implemented. So let's go to devices. It's probably going to be something like toggle. So I'll just copy this code. Actually, and then you could box your player in, and depending on where the player leaves the boundary, or where the player leaves this boundary, the camera follows in that direction alongside the player. Right. I mean, I guess I sort of understand what you're saying, I think. I mean, I see what you mean with drawing a path. I was kind of thinking like drawing rectangles that are sort of the boundaries of the camera. So as long as the camera is within those rectangles, it's gonna be bounded by those rectangles. And the rectangle that it's currently bounded by is gonna be, I guess, the one that is corresponding to the center position of the camera. And once it reaches a new area, a new boundary, it will sort of switch to that rectangle boundary, because you're gonna have like several rectangles, or it could be the sum of all rectangles. Like you could just have the boundary be the sum of all rectangles, and it doesn't really have one active rectangle. It just keeps in the boundary. And once it reaches a point where it can kind of collide, or it doesn't collide anymore upwards, let's say, it sort of unlocks in upward position, so you can go up. But that, however, that would require the camera to be like, it would require the map to actually match the camera size. I guess that is something that I need to think about as well. Like the map, the tile map, the size of the actual room has to match the camera. Like right now, I haven't really thought about stuff like that, but that would be something that would be. I have to actually manage that. I guess it's easier if I sort of show it, maybe, to explain what I mean. So, okay, let me show here. Let me open up GIMP. So let's say we have this time up here. So this was the example that I had here. Okay, and then we're let's draw boundaries as, I guess, blue or something. So let's say the boundary is like this. So we'll draw one rectangle like this. I guess this didn't really line up here. Okay, that's one rectangle. And then I'll draw another rectangle, slightly different color. Wait, come on. Okay, so these are like the two sort of boundaries that I was thinking of. And then you have the camera. Let's make it pink or something. Well, actually, let's say the player is over here. And the camera is around the player, but it's bounded by the boundary. So it has to be like over here or something. Okay. And then once the player moves, the camera it's sort of locked here in this boundary. So even if the player jumps up, the camera's if the player's over here, the camera is still bounded over here. So if the player moves, once the player moves over here, now the camera is sort of, it can fit into this slot here. That was kind of what I was thinking. You could make your map separate into big rectangle tiles. Yeah, maybe that's not a bad idea, because that will probably help with like showing the map and stuff like that as well. You know, because I do want to have like a map system maybe. We'll see. I mean, it depends on, I guess, what the size of the game maybe. It's always nice to have a map in Metroidvanias. And that will probably help like creating the map. I mean, I'm not opposed to having sort of a more, I guess, non-rectangular or non-square map, but non-grid map. It's probably super helpful for actually designing the level as well. I was just thinking, if we have these rectangles, then we should be able to make a camera code that makes it just be in these areas. And another thing is, like, if we have, let's say we have a destructible wall over here. You know, we have a destructible wall. The player comes up. And destroys the wall. Boom. Then it opens up to the next room here, or it doesn't have to be this big either. It can be like just this. No. Now we have to dynamically sort of create a new boundary here, or it can be predetermined as well. It can be like sort of activated, I guess, by destroying the tile. So you're activating this new boundary, which means it's like active. And then when you move in, now the camera, let's say we have destroyed, right as we destroy the wall, the camera now, the camera now moves over there. So it's sort of unlocking in that direction. Because the boundary now enables this. However, the camera doesn't really fit in this box. So maybe the boundary should actually be extended like this instead. It is very dependent now on the camera size though. And now we have to sort of, like, based on the player position, we have to figure out where should the camera be. Yeah. What pixel size are your tiles and characters? So tiles are 16 by 16, and the character. So the the player character is 16 by 32. One-fourth tile. I don't think I understand what you mean. You can layer the tiles. I have a layer above the camera view so you can mask out the rest of the minute. Tile on the left. Yeah, so I have I did actually like right now I did implement sort of what I call a fog of war. If I open up the editor. Here. These two, I made like how I did the. So let me show you here. Well, okay, now it's open, so because I already destroyed it. But you can see here, this is now revealed. If I go, so but these are like the entities that they kind of cover the area. So I make them into sort of entities that cover the area, and then I have these destructible tiles, and they are also entities. But they are sort of connected to these fogs of war. And when I destroy them, they actually activate these to make them fade away and be destroyed. So that's how I solve that problem. But I'm talking like basically I'm talking about only the camera. So I basically already solved this problem, like having I can show you here. It sort of looks. If I disable loading in these. So now the state should be reset on these things. So they should show up as it looks. So I can show you here. Once it's compiled. There we go. So it looks like this. And I know it kind of looks weird here because this is also like a this is like the ground that continues over here, but then it's covered like this. I guess technically you could have an entity over here that's also fades away. I don't know. It feels weird changing this tile. Maybe I should just change the graphic. Maybe this. Yeah, I'm actually not sure how to do that, but once you destroy them, it kind of just fades away and opens up. It looks a bit weird because it's not really the same aesthetic as the rest of the game. The game is sort of like 8-bit looking, I guess. When you destroy this, it sort of fades in a very smooth way. So, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, it sort of hints towards being a secret here, so I guess it's fine. It's not really that big of a deal. But I was thinking more, like, if go back to the example, I was thinking more about the camera, like if I'm going with this sort of boundary type thing. Like you define these rectangles as entities, and then in the game you would interpret them as being camera boundaries. And when you destroy and I want them to be sort of dynamic as well. So when you destroy this wall, it's gonna like activate this boundary because it's like deactivated at first. So then the camera, because I want the camera to be locked, like it shouldn't reveal the secret. Is what I'm trying to say. let's see. So, but I'm not sure if that's like a. I have been trying to find resources on camera, but it's like I haven't found like one, you know, the definitive. This is the best way to do it, whatever. So it's more like, okay, you have to figure it out yourself, because it sort of have to fit your game, and you know, stuff like that. I'm just trying to think. Maybe it's better to think about this in on the whiteboard first, to figure out, okay, what kind of problems could we run into when doing it like this. Because I am kind of copying a little bit of how Hollow Knight does it, because they also have this type of place where it's like, let's say it's a T-shaped room here, and it's the same thing. Like, I want basically all of that. So it's basically, it is locked in this horizontal section, but once you reach a vertical section, which is in the same sort of, you know, scene, it unlocks the verticality. So once you jump up, it's following up the player. And then it locks in, like the horizontal is locked instead. So basically, it has like a couple of different modes, it almost feels like. But I feel like you could have all that with this system, or just define that, okay, in this region it's horizontally unlocked and vertically locked. In this region it's vertically unlocked. You could do it like that maybe as well. But then you still have to have the boundaries here, because I want the boundaries to be like, you shouldn't be able to see over here. The camera shouldn't reveal this place, let's say. It should, like, this is the boundary of the map. It shouldn't go beyond and show here. So I think we might need these rectangles anyway. Yeah, you can do it in an infinite amount of ways. That is true. Maybe I should just go for this and see, because I can't think about any sort of potential problem with this right now. The only thing I'm thinking about is the size of the camera really matters. If we decide to change the size of the camera, like how much is visible on the screen, that means that basically every boundary needs to be recalculated. So maybe that is something that needs to be decided before, like, designing the maps and stuff like that. I think even now this map over here is currently too small. Like, it's too thin, this part here. This should be like wider, so that the camera doesn't show like beyond here. Make it a player-centered camera with light dampening, and make all the non-visible instances black. The camera will follow the plane in a smooth way, no matter if you go vertical or horizontal. The camera boundaries will be limited by the player's ability to move inside the game world. Sure, I mean, yeah, I guess you could do that. But I still want when let's say you move up here. I'm gonna show you here. So this is fine, you know. It once you reach the end, the edge of the time map, the edge of the map, it's the camera is locked. It doesn't go beyond to the left here. Well, when I walk over here and I go up, when I go up here, I basically don't want to show. I mean, I guess it's fine. Maybe it's like this. When I go to the edge here, this is transitioning me into another area. But I don't. I want the camera to be sort of. It doesn't go beyond this point. Or maybe I'm trying to have it be too perfect. I don't know. It would be cool to be able to solve it. I think maybe the camera boundary system could solve it, like the drawing the rectangles. It's just it's too dependent on the whatever the camera size and all that. All right, yeah. So I'm not sure, but I would have to think about it a little bit more. I'm not gonna commit to anything right now. But anyway. Let's continue making this button here. So this button here, and the button, yeah, it can be on or off. It's like the toggle device. Oops. Let's see. Entity toggle. Let's just add it here. It should activate something and it should be on or, well, actually initial state. So a button is always like you press it, it's activated, but then it's like deactivated, or it's not deactivated, but it's like you press it and it jumps back. It's like it's not a toggle button, it's just a press button. So it should actually be, this should actually have like a state here. So off is a struct, it should have ends at as a timestamp, so we know it should, like, it's just to show the animation, I guess. But I guess we could just play the animation. It doesn't really have a state in that case. Well, I mean, I guess we can have the off state, whatever. You'll figure it out, I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, if it doesn't work out, then I will just have to, you know, I would have to concede on having the camera the way I want. I'm not gonna let anything stand in the way of actually like completing the project. At least that's my stance right now. So because before I was like, I have to make this work like how I want it, but that would be like that would like kill the project. I've never actually completed like a large project like this. So I really want to complete the project, so I don't want something like that to actually kill off the project. So I'm just gonna have to concede on some things. And yeah, that's that. That's not a bad thing, it's just, that's just the way it is. I know it's possible to have it work. It's just how much work is it going to be, and do I really want to focus on that right now? Is this a solo project or looking for some collaboration in a way? I mean, it is. I haven't really thought about collaborating actually. Well, I not like programming wise at least. I have been thinking about like outsourcing maybe the graphics and the music and sounds, but that's gonna be later when. So because I'm trying to focus on like the graphics is basically sort of half placeholder. Like I like doing the graphics, I like being creative that way as well, but it's also like I don't perfect it, you know. I don't want to spend too much time on it because I want to sort of make the gameplay and stuff. I'm gonna focus on the gameplay and the game itself, or yeah, the code and the content, I guess. if you need music, you can hit me up. Oh, cool. Nice. What kind of music? What kind of music do you do? Let's see. Yeah, we need animation. I think we already have animation for that. Animations. Button. Yeah, we do have button animation. On, off, press. Yeah. Let's add it here. I have to look up the ID. There we go. All right, so now we have the button animations. The button state, I'm not sure if... Oh yeah, we need activates, that's right. We need activates. I'm just gonna double check the entity type here. Button. Yeah, we have activates, which is an entity reference. Technically, we could make this into a list like we did with destructible tiles. I'm gonna keep it like this for now, and maybe change that later. Rest should be fine. Hitbox doesn't really matter. Get animation. I mean, hitbox, it sort of matters if you want to check like collisions, I guess, when we activate it. But I think 32 by 30 is fine. Animation. So animation is, let's see, the state. When it's on, it should be on. And when it's off, it should be off. Yeah. Animation looping is always false. And set the state. So activate, we set. Activate should always be like, we should check if state is on, or if it's wait, what am I saying? This should be off, or I guess this could be like idle and pressed instead. That makes it a lot more like descriptive of what's actually on or off, because on is like, that means it should be like pressed to me. So if it's pressed, that means it should be on, else off. Yeah. There we go. And here, if it's idle, or if it's not equal to idle, then we cannot activate it, so we just return. Otherwise, we set this to be pressed, and ends at should be t plus pressed duration, I guess, or pressed. Let's just do, I don't know, half a second, something. Whatever you want. I could do some Game Boy music or a solid soundtrack. I play multiple instruments and have a small home studio. Oh, cool. So are you a programmer and musician as well? And, I mean, are you and a game dev? That's cool. That's awesome. Press duration, let's see. Yeah, so it's pressed at that much, yeah. All right, now let's see. So now we go to device and we add a button here. Oops. So if, or I guess we can do switch on the button state. If it's pressed, we want to check if pressed ends at is less than or equal to t. That means the press has ended. So we set the state. Oops. We set the state back to idle. Otherwise, if it's idle, we don't do anything. There we go. These two are not used, so we'll just do this. Okay. Then we have down here, this is handle state change. Come on. Yeah. All right, thanks. Thanks for joining. I'll catch you later. All right, so now let's make the button here. So let's see. Yeah, we also have this part. I forgot about that. This is actually if. We should put this in the if here. It's because it's like when we're restoring the state, we also want to be able to control if the activation is enabled. Basically preventing like chain reactions from happening when you just want to restore the state of everything. So in the case of being destroyed, this only sort of removes the thing from here. But we won't activate anything else. Because that's like a chain. It could start off like a chain reaction and stuff. This doesn't activate anything else. However, the button does activate something else. So the button, when it's changed to pressed, we do want to activate whichever entity is in there. Actually, we should actually create a function that grabs whatever entity has the entity ID. So you can see here for toggle, for example, when we press toggle, the entity, it has an activates ID here, and then we need to get that ID. We need to see which entity that is. We should probably make a function for that. So get entity by entity ID. No, this is, it's just a UUID. And then we get entity out, which is gonna be this here. So we're gonna make a view. Actually, we need a registry as well. This is equal to get, well, it's a no, it's a basic view of entity IDs. Right, so then we do for view data. That will give us the entity. Now get entity, right. So check if the ID is the same as this. We return entity. I guess it can be null, I guess. So if we get over here, we return null. It shouldn't be null, but we'll just add that safeguard here. All right. So now here we can say activate entity. It's going to be get entity by ID. And then this is the ID. So now we get the entity. If we don't get an entity, we can just return because we don't have anything to activate. All right, and then we don't do this. We don't need to have a loop. We don't need to do this. We don't need to check. We will get the device like this, and then we do the same stuff here. Now, do we want to handle state change here? Oh yeah, this is in handle state change. So any state change that that like supposed to be sort of, I guess, chain reacted, we have to call like recursively here. Okay, I guess that's fine. Okay, yeah, that simplified this a lot here. And let's check over here as well. So this would be activated entity, get entity by thing. And then we get the device and we activate it. And we don't need to break. Or do we need to break? No, we don't break. Okay, there we go. All right. Actually, what we could do is we could do this first, and then we'll have an if this is false to invert this a little bit here to get rid of this nesting. There we go. All right. I mean, we could almost make a function that like activate entity reference directly. Do we have this? Probably entity reference. Yeah. All right. Activated entity. And device. device dot activate. How many T? So we activate it, and then we also handle. Let's just do this directly here. All right. So now we can simply say activate entity reference. T. There we go. Oh, I see. It depends on the state, I guess. Okay. I mean, I guess we could have one for activate, one for deactivate. Yeah, because now we don't need to do anything with those. And we don't need to call that. Alright, now let's check here. So this one, we can simply call activate entity ref with T. Let's see what else. What do we need to do? Yeah, the button. Yeah. Okay, so if the button was changed to pressed, we will simply activate the reference, which is button properties activate. If it's idle, we don't care. Oh, we do need T here. There we go. Oh, I see. Without declaration. Okay. Yeah, so that's I have this special wrapper here. I just call this, I'll just do this without declarations. There we go. All right. Oh, it's different? Wait. Oh, the property. Wait, what? Oh, I see. So okay, so we didn't need to do that. We need to do this. So the issue is that the array, I think, has a different type. So let's go back here. So we have property array. This guy actually returns the payload of property type, which is without declarations. But we actually don't want that. We want it with declaration. Or I mean, we want the original type here. So actually, probably want maybe another one here. Property type. I guess we could call this without declarations then, to make it like very explicit. And then this is without declarations. And this is with declarations. Okay, and then this will be, well, actually this would be with declarations then, so I want this to be with declarations. There we go. All right. Okay, this has been getting a little bit convoluted here, I think. Probably. Oh yeah, no. So this should be fine, actually. We're trying to make this into. It should be the same thing. It's just that we have to. So this should be the same thing. We just have to do this. Because the types are basically the same thing. It's just one doesn't have declarations. So we can go through all the fields of, I guess, the type of item property. No, item property and then field. So this is the property type, I think. Go through the fields of that. And then we'll say items I dot, or the field of this field of name is equal to the field of pt field of name. There we go. So we're not assigning it like this. Instead, we are looping through all the fields of this and assigning them field by field, which is basically what I guess what Sig is doing anyway. Like, I don't know the inner workings exactly how it does it, but this should be the same thing. Alright, and then activated entity, expected type user found. Oh, right, so if we don't find anything, we just return. There we go. Okay, now we have a couple of different places where we need to fill this in here. So the button, we will parse the entities there. Oops, that needs to be a button there. And here we have toggle button. Let's call this, streamline this into properties instead. but this one is not toggle, it is button. All right. There we go. So now we have that. No field name, initial state in properties. Oh yeah. Well, it's always going to be idle state. Start out as idle there. And we also have to save the thing. So we'll do buttons. Initially on should be always be true. Is on if its state is so actually the button state should not. Okay, I think the buttons, we shouldn't even save the buttons. Actually the buttons should like, they should not even be saved. So I'm just gonna ignore this case actually. Because the only thing you can do with the button is press it and it goes back to its original state. So it's like, it should always be spawned as idle. We don't need to save their state. There we go. Alright, let's see now if we can run this. I'll just close everything and open this up here. There we go. Now we have the button spawning. However, there's a couple of things. Okay, it's actually colliding and you can't activate it. So yeah, let's go to button init entity. Let's grab our entity out. I guess technically we could have a configuration put into init device that says if it's like collidable or whatever. But you could also grab the body out and you can say actually we need to go to physics system and we need to say no. We need to say collision groups, remove from all the groups, entity. Actually we don't need to get the body at all. There we go. So now it shouldn't be colliding. There we go. Okay, now another thing would be, okay, for one, I think we need to move it down. Another thing is that when you go up to it and press, it should be like you press the button, it should like activate. So how would we do that? So we do have like it's the wrong input is so what I will do, we have like is dialogue, no, is talk, is, what is it? Beam, lens. Which one is it? Focus. I decided to name. So Focus input. This is the key. This is the same key used to talk to people as well. So I'm thinking instead of having like different inputs for those, it's gonna be like the same input. It's gonna be like is activate input on. And then based on the context of what's happening in the game, it's gonna do different things. Actually, is that happening in the dialogue system? Yeah, we're actually looking at accept input. So this is kind of weird. The dialogue system actually handles input itself as well. But we don't want this to be, we want the, like, let's say you go up to a character and presses like accept or whatever. It starts to talk to the character. However, you don't want also another system to go in and out, but you're actually opening a chest or whatever. So you want this to be sort of selecting whatever is, I guess, currently targeted or something like that. Yeah, I think I will have to think a little bit about this because this, I think this needs a little bit of reorganization here. I think what we need is basically you can only interact with one thing at a time. When you press the interaction button or activate button or whatever, it's gonna activate the thing that you're actually targeting, and then maybe we'll have, you know, some sort of visual representation of what you're actually activating, like, you know, a little talk icon maybe above the character or something that shows up to show that, okay, if you press activate now, this is the thing you're gonna interact with. And then based on maybe, I guess, the position or something of the player, it's gonna decide with what you're actually activating. And then it's a simple case of, okay, if you press the accept button, then it's just gonna activate whatever you're targeting. And if it's a dialogue, then we'll call this function. If it's something else, we'll do that. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna grab a cup of coffee and we'll figure this out. BRB. Yeah. So how would we determine what is actually activated though? I'm pretty sure that's how I want it to have or to be. One thing that is current sort of target. So I think that is probably a good thing to have. So I'm gonna just add this here. I'm gonna say activation target or something like that. And it's just going to be an entity or a nullable entity. It's going to be null. Do I need to comment this? Whatever gets activated when the player presses the activate button. I felt like it's cryptic enough to actually give an explanation. Maybe it's gonna be ingrained in the logic of the system, so you're gonna be able to figure it out. But I guess it's nice sometimes to have a little bit of documentation here and there. All right, at least when it's like a little bit cryptic, I tend to add comments here and there. I'm really not adding comments a lot, but for these kinds of things, I think it's warranted. Especially, I know that, okay, I'm gonna get back here and I'm gonna see, okay, what the hell is activation target? And then you're gonna figure it out at, like, when you're gonna go on a little bit of detective work and try to figure it out. But then if it just says it in the comment, you don't have to do that. So you don't spend the time doing that. All right. So we have activation target now. Now we need a couple of things. So we need to write a function that looks at the target, like when you press the activation button and then you look at the target and you see that, okay, is the target null? Then we do the lens beam focus thing. If it's not null, we will do, maybe we'll remap the button to be different, but if it's a device, we activate it. If it's like activatable by just pressing the button, then we check, okay, is it a NPC that is the current target? Then we will just speak to the NPC. So something like that. We will have a function that does that. And then we also need a function that sort of populates this based on where the player is. Which is gonna pretty much be the hardest part, I think, of this thing. I mean, we do have the player system and we can check each frame for intersections, which we are sort of doing almost anyway. We probably need to do it anyway. Checking for intersections. We need some sort of activation hitbox around the player, I guess. Or maybe it should just be the hitbox of the player. The collision box of the player, sort of. Oh yeah, this is like the attack. I should really put this in a separate function, actually. What is attack? Attack is the player's state attack. We need registry, right? Or yeah, we need registry. So registry attack is player components dot state dot attack then what? T, we need T as well. What else? Player component. Player. There we go. So player component, attack, T. There we go. And we can also just do this. Okay. Now this function is a little bit more manageable. Okay. I guess it should be called update attack. Yeah, that's a lot better. All right, so I mean, I guess this would happen every frame, basically. Okay, update activation target. Let's just put that in there. Player components T, maybe. We don't need T really. All right. Update activation target. Player component. Okay, register player component. Yeah. So here we need to do a couple of things. So we need to, well, we need the physics system to check for intersections. So we're checking for intersections. So let me pseudocode this here. So we'll check for intersections of other entities. We will, for each intersection, we will check if an activatable entity, or if it's an activatable entity, add to list, I guess. Otherwise we skip. Okay, and then 3. Find nearest activatable entity. Yeah, so basically we're finding all the activatable entities that are colliding with the player. We're finding the nearest one. And then we set activate target to nearest. All right. So what is the hitbox? The hitbox should just be the player body.
right? Allocator, oh yeah, we need allocator. There we go. All right, so we're looking through all intersections. So for each intersection, we wanna check if is is activatable intersection dot entry dot key. Okay, if it's activatable, we add it to the list. So we need a list as well. So activatable targets. I'm not sure if that's a correct spelling of activatable, but whatever. So let's just make an array list of entities. Empty. If it's activatable, we add it to the thing. Item is intersection entry key. Okay. Now at the end we will have either no activatable targets or we have some activatable targets. If the length is 0, items.length. If the length is 0, we will set player component activation target to null. Otherwise, we will need to find the nearest one. So player component activation target should be equal to the find nearest from these to the player. All right. We need find nearest. This should probably be like a utils function. I'll just put it here for now. We're just gonna assume that the list you provide is actually filled, or it has at least one thing in it. Candidates and targets. And you can do an assert. Why is that not working here? Assert that candidates.length is more than 0. Alright. Now we will keep track of the least distance, so min distance. And at the start, this is a F32. At the start it's gonna be math max float max, or I guess infinite F32, and then we'll loop through all the candidates and we'll find the distance from the candidate. So we need the actually we can do target body. Oh, we need the registry as well. Right. So registry get rigid body from the target, and then here we need the candidate body. Alright, so the distance should be candidate body ABB distance to target body ABB. Alright, that's the distance. That's the distance to the center of the entity. I guess that's fine. Maybe you want to have a different, like, let's say you have like a large entity that you can activate, which doesn't really make sense, I guess. No, we're gonna keep it like this. If it becomes a problem, we can fix it. So we're checking then if this is less than min dist, then the min dist is equal to this, and we also need to keep track of min dist entity. Which is, I guess it's null. I mean, it could really be undefined because we assert that we have at least one candidate, so we should get in here at least once, and this should always be true for the first entity, so this should always be set down here. So that's set to the candidate. And at the end we should have the one that has the least distance, so we can just return min dist entity there. There we go. Oh yeah, we don't have is activatable. Okay. How do we determine this? This is basically going to be some sort of arcane thing right now. We're just gonna check. Okay, is it a button? Yes. Is it an NPC? Yes. I guess if it has a dialogue component, so if dialogue, if it has a dialogue component, well, this will be a try get now. If it has a dialogue component, we return true. If it is a device, so if it's a device and if the device is a button, then we return true. Otherwise we don't really have anything, I don't think, so we'll return false. All right. Yeah, it needs to be mutable anyway because we need to change the thing. You need registry, that's right. This is catch and return. I mean, what we could do to speed this up a little bit, because I mean, it's not going to be that much of a deal. It's just going to be the intersections here. It's probably going to be max like 10 intersections. Like, you're not going to get that many intersections. So this is really not that big of a deal here. But what we could do is you could do like init capacity here. And let's just say that 10 is the max, or I guess 100, just to be super sure. Then we'll check here, we'll append assume capacity. Or actually we can still use append, because if we somehow reach over 100, we don't want it to crash, you know. We just want it to be to append safely. But this will make sure that we don't do any additional allocations. We only do one allocation, and that's fine. All right. Allocator in the capacity found. Oh, this needs to be get const. Wait. This needs to be get const. Okay, that was weird. There we go. Okay, what's now? No field mem knife append in. Oh yeah, so catch a reachable we need to add there as well. Expected found const. Okay, this needs to be a var or mutable. Incompatible types. Right, so we need to like dereference. Actually, we can do try get const instead. We don't need the pointer there. Okay. So now we should this should actually now populate the thing properly. Now, how would we know which it is? We could add a sort of debug draw thing. We have a couple of debug draw stuff, which we could just copy this, let's say. And we'll add a new one called draw activation target indicator. And we will look through for the player, and we want to get the thing out. Okay, and then we don't need T. I don't think. Then we want to get the activate target, which is player component dot activation target, I think. Activation target, yeah. All right. So if we don't have any, we can just return. Or continue, I guess. We only gonna have one player, so it doesn't really make sense to loop here anyway. So we'll activate the target, or we'll look for the activation target. Now, if we find it, we want to grab the. I guess we can grab the body of the activation target. And we'll draw an outline on that. So I wanna just grab some code to draw here. Yeah, we can draw the AABB red. That's fine. Yeah, except the AV is body.av. There we go. Right, and then we go back here, no, back to draw, and we will say, no, we need that. I'm gonna have a config in debug, which is enable, what is it, player, no, activation target indicator. We'll draw activation indicator There we go. All right. So we should now also be able to see which activation indicator we have. So let's actually try and run this. It's gonna be like a red outline of the thing that is the activation target. There we go. You can see. Actually, the intersection here is a little bit larger for actually talking to the guy. We can talk to the guy over here. Which does make sense, because you do want to see sort of the animation, I guess. But you can see sort of how it works here. So maybe we'll increase the activation target a little bit more. I'm gonna check. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. Let's also draw the activation hitbox around the player. And then I think we need to add we need to add the player body. Well, what the hell? I just enabled some weird thing in Windows. No thanks. Okay, there we go. Player body, yes. So this would be player body ABB center. All right, we need to define the activation hitbox, but I do want to draw this activation hitbox in, I guess, yellow. So then we can see sort of where the player should be colliding with the things. Now let's go to dialogue thing, and here's the dialogue hitbox. You can see here we actually do some calculations here. So let's copy this, go to player component, and we'll add a function somewhere. Here's the shield hitbox. Activation hitbox, I guess it was called. From center is 0, and then this. That should be fine. Wait, where did we go here? Yeah. Oh, that should be good. Alright, so now we should draw the activation hitbox around the player, but it's not yet, you know, it's not used yet by the system. So, but at least it's gonna get drawn, I think. So we can see it around the player. No, it's not. Okay. Oh, it's only drawn. Okay, wait. Oh, I see. We need to move this up here. There we go. There we go. Now we can see the activation hitbox there, but we need it to be more. Well, we need it to be used. So if we go over here and then we go down to, where was it, the activation target. So the intersections should not be at from the player body, it should be player component.get. Yeah, it should be this. So we get the hitbox. That's basically only the size, I guess. We get the size and then we add the player position to it. So then we find the intersection there. Okay, let's see if this works now. You can also enable like the collisions to see that it actually collides there. Okay, cool. So yeah, and then you can see that it actually gets like activated like this. Okay, cool. So now we have a way of like finding an activatable target. So the one thing that remains now is writing a function that will trigger when the activate button is pressed and figure out what to do with that. Let's also test the button, actually. So here's a button, and you can see it also, so now this is the activation target because it's a button there. But we don't have the function to actually activate it yet, so. Wow, what? There's a, it's crashing here. Interesting. Oh, I see. It just... Wait, is there a leak somewhere? Okay, yeah, there is like a frame by frame leak somewhere. Let's fix that actually. Activatable targets. Oh, I see. This one is leaked. Activatable targets. The initialize. Okay, there we go. Let's try again. So it hanged for a bit because it was like displaying or it was printing out to the console all of those leaks, which happened every frame. So okay, now we don't have leaks. Great. Alright, so we'll go to game input and I will change this to be is active. Well, actually, no, let's change this to be like is activate button on, or item input on, activate input. Alright, let's activate. Right. So here, instead of doing only the lens activate, this should only happen if the player does not have any activation target. So let's look, if we have an activation target, we should grab it out and do something with that. Otherwise, we will do this. Okay, now this will already make it so that unused capture, okay. This will already make it so that the lens doesn't activate when you have an activation target. So from here you can activate the lens by pressing the activate button. Here you don't activate it. So already this is like a million times better. Okay, but now what do we want to do here? So this is basically going to be sort of a dynamic thing based on the type of target. So if it's an NPC, we want to, or I mean, if it's a dialogue component, we want to activate sort of the dialogue system thing for that. If it's a device, we want to sort of, I guess, call the device system for that. We could also make like an activate system activate thing. Let's just do this. So dialogue, if it's a dialogue, we know that it's one of these things, so we're gonna do try get dialogue if we have a dialogue component. We want to say dialogue system activate dialogue, I guess. Activate dialogue of this target. We don't really need the dialogue here. And if it's a I guess we need an else here, which feels bad. I wish there was a way to like sort of break out of this scope. I mean, I guess you could make a label maybe, but I don't want to do that. I mean, you could. We should make a function instead. So let's do handle activate. Target. Alright. So if we get this, we do that, and then we return. There we go. Otherwise, we get the device. Device type. If the device is equal to a button, then we say device system. And I do kind of want to activate it at this point. Actually, we could just say d.activate. Yeah. And we also return, just to keep the same pattern going here. Expected or else. Okay, I guess we'll nest it a little bit here. ECS. Game. Alright, we need registry. Activation target. Target. There we go. Now this needs registry, which is game.red, and activation target. Okay, there we go. Now we need to implement this function here. Yeah, handle enter dialog. So it's basically gonna call this function, I guess, except we don't need to check for intersections or find the actual dialog thing to do. We actually have the thing, so we can, I guess we can copy all this, put this in a separate function. What is the thing? Activate dialog. I guess it could be called like enter dialog or whatever instead, but Whoops. It's gonna have it, so we're just gonna get there. We already have target container. All right. Oh yeah, we need the registry. Player component. Okay, sure. Let's pass the player component, I guess. And T, of course. There we go. All right, now that's doing the same thing. Now we need registry. There we go. All right, now we also need to make sure that this function is not called because we don't use it anymore. So let's just not call it. And what else do we want? We want to prevent. We want to prevent this from happening if we're already in a dialogue, I guess. Also, like if we are in a dialogue, we don't really do this. But let's see, we might already have a thing for that somewhere. Yeah. So, all right. Will this work now? That's the question. Activate dialogue. You need player components and T. So let's add these here as well. There we go. Oh, you need a T here. Fine. All right. Let's try this. Really nice to get this done. And there you go. It works, except it's a little bit weird. It like instantly does the thing. You see here, it's supposed to be like, it's supposed to play the text as an animation. I don't know why it like instantly does that, but it does work. Now why would it instantly get completed? So we're getting the starting dialogue option here. This gets initialized with T. Right. At the point of activating it, it creates this. What is T here? T is passed in here. Am I missing something? Enter dialogue. We're getting the dialogue component. We are getting the NPC. We're getting the starting dialogue thing. We're creating the thing here with T there. So this should be the same thing. Like, let's say we take this back. And here we don't do this. Will that be a difference? No, or yes, I mean, why is that different? What is different here? Wait, where is it? Yeah. Why is it different? I am confused, to say the least. Let's try this again. Yeah, I'm very confused. Wait, is there something going on at the start of this? Like, we have update in the dialogue system. Right. Well, this should be like this. If we have an active dialogue, we're updating it here. Maybe this should be like T plus duration. I know that it will make it sort of like not uniformly. It will not make it like not consistent, but let's see if that does any difference here. No, there's no difference. Okay, that's really strange. That means the current length is like already done, I guess. Oh, hang on. It might be because of this. So, if you start the dialogue, right, because before we press the button, now this happens in the same frame, so it's still like on here. We should probably like have something that instead of we should have something that like consumes this input. Maybe then setting the state to like false or whatever once we use it, because this just checks from the Raylib standpoint. All right. The only sort of state we have is stick state. Stick state. I mean this, yeah. We could add more state that as like the input state or whatever, and then that is the thing that you need to look at. Actually, where is this used? Oh, it's just a global, I guess, or it's, I mean, local to this file here, but we should probably add like a input state as like a singleton that we check for inputs instead. But is there an easy way to fix this though? Like, I don't want to implement all that right now. Let's see. I mean, the only thing I can think of is like adding a bool flag, and that feels really bad. Because, yeah, we're going in here the same frame. I mean, maybe this should happen before input then. Could also move the order of operations. What is the order of operations here? The dialogue system is happening like way down here. Okay, let's just move this up here, I guess. Because now, whenever this says, okay, now we're entering the dialogue, we wait until the next frame to actually check for the input to be on. And since it's an edge detection, it will be false here. So now it shouldn't like share the state. There we go. But now when we cancel, we jump instead. Okay, I really need to fix the input state, but yeah, this works now. Very nice. We need to fix this later. I need to fix the input state, but let's check if we can actually activate the button now. There we go. Oh yeah, so well, we can't activate it again. I mean, we can press it again, but nothing happens. Alright. Now, is that how I want it to be, or do I want it to like toggle? It's not really a toggle button though, it's just an activate button, but it could be used to toggle the target. It could also be used just to activate it. Okay, I'm gonna try this as well. Like, technically, we could actually have a toggle somewhere here. Let's see. Let's add. I'm gonna do maybe somewhere where it can't actually reach. Okay, let's figure this out first. So where can't we reach the thing? Like maybe if it's embedded in the ceiling over here. So we're embedding it over there. And we will draw stuff over there. Okay, there we go. And then we connect you to the door. And the button is connected to this. There we go. So now the button sends an activate signal here, which will toggle it on or off, which will in turn activate or deactivate the door. So now it's on and off, on and off. See how now that chain reaction actually works now. And so we reload and it works. And there's no way of activating this by shooting here because the beam won't reach over there. So you have to get around all the way over here to actually activate it. All right. Great. What now? Okay, I'm gonna fix this issue. Like, what's happening here? It's like the scale thing made this look very strange. Let's see, scale. Layout utils. Here, draw entity, makes sense. Width is based on scale 0. Oh, I see. I missed that part. That should be height there. This should solve the issue, hopefully. There we go. All right. All right. Right. So, what to do now though? We got the button implemented. So what have we done there? We have I was talking about the camera stuff. Then we implemented a button. Oh yeah, the fog of war, fixed the fog of war stuff. I'm really happy with this actually. The only thing is like it looks maybe kind of weird that it's like revealed in a sort of very smooth way, while the aesthetic is more like, you know, it's more supposed to be 8-bit, where they didn't really have a way to smoothly fade like this. So it looks a bit, you know, it looks a bit it looks a little bit, I guess, unprofessional. I don't know. It doesn't really fit the aesthetic. Also, I guess in the editor, like I want, let's say I want to sort of hide these. I don't really want them to cover. Let's say I want to sort of edit the thing behind. Well, I guess what I could do is just go to the time map and I can just edit here. But well, yeah, actually, one thing that I want to do is I want to add like Control W. Right now, it's sort of like the built-in thing where it tries to go through all like the windows. This is like built in InGUI. But what I want to happen with Control Tab is I want to switch between the open documents and not like these windows, because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense in the context of this editor. So I want to see if I can actually like disable that maybe. Let's see. So InGUI disable Control Tab. Keyboard navigation. Alright, so if we go to main and we will say InGUI, so keyboard navigation, config, set. Like, how would you actually change it? Configuration flag. Set config flags. Why am I not getting this? Is it on a struct? Font config? No. Oh, it's IO. Alright, and then flags. So this, will this set everything? I guess everything is like defaulted here, so keyboard nav enable keyboard. I mean, I want keyboard navigation, it's just I don't want the specific like Control Tab. Okay, so it seems like they haven't. Let's see, I can show here the thing. So it seems like this question is all about that, how to disable the control tab, and currently enabled this keyboard navigation tab. So we're talking about like implementing another system to handle this in a better way than to have a flag. And then why is it actually closed? That's the question. Okay, now you can do this. Set shortcut routing. I'm not sure if I actually have access to this. No. Okay, so apparently I have like a really old version of Ingwe maybe. Shortcut routing. I don't think we have that. Config nav we know. Yeah, I don't have the means to actually do this, so I'm just gonna give up on that right now. I think I'll probably like update the ImGUI library maybe. It's gonna be a pain to do, but because I think there's a lot of breaking changes. All right, well, yeah, that's gonna be something for the future. All right, so we've implemented the button. What to do now is the question. Well, I guess we could do like the input system, I guess. Well, you know what? I need to eat, and yeah, I think I'm gonna take a little break. I'll be back later, but yeah, I'll finish up, or yeah, I'll quit for now, and I might come back later today. I'm gonna stream to this week, basically every day, same time as I did like yesterday and today. And so yeah, that's it, and also next week as well. All right. So thank you very much for joining and watching and chatting with me, and I hope you have a nice day, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.